Been a few hours, but it felt like days. Only been days, but it felt like months. Been gone for a year, only know like once. Life move fast when you do what you want.
What's up, y'all? Back with another video. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, and share. And in this vlog, I'll be getting into some hair. So for vacation, I decided to do some Fulani braids using 48-inch pre-stretched braiding hair in the color 1B. To make sure everything's neat and laid, I'll be using Shine and Jam because it definitely gets the job done. I will be adding some curly pieces, so I'll need a crochet needle, of course, and the curly hair itself. I'm still undecided if I want to use accessories, but I got some anyway, and I got some rubber bands to do the rubber band method. I really don't want to make this tutorial too long, so I went ahead and got started. Of course, you got to make sure you get your parts in and make sure they're straight. I haven't done braids on my hair for a while since having locks, so it was definitely feeling like it was new to me, and it was a little difficult to get the parts as straight as I wanted them to be, but honestly it just wasn't going for perfection. I just wanted something cute and something quick, even though it wasn't quick because it did take 13 hours. But if any of you are unfamiliar with the rubber band method, I started with making sure I did all my parts and separating the hair and putting rubber bands on each sectioned off hair. I really love this method because it does make it feel a little bit easier to just get it done. And then of course you proceed per usual by adding small pieces of hair along the braid, preferably in the beginning for extra length and for whatever desired thickness you have. I'm gonna keep it real, y'all. I was a little annoyed that some of my braids had like diamond shaped parts, but hey, the job got done and I didn't have to pay anyone else to do it, so it still came out cute. Also, I'm really proud of myself for how I did it when I really didn't have a mirror. I was kind of just using my phone and recording as I went to make sure the parts were straight, but I literally had no mirror, so I mean, for that, yeah, this was pretty good. If you pay close attention, I did cheat a little bit in the back. I should have already said it, but I made the parts a little bigger on the first row so that the other rows will go by quicker, and because there's a lot of tension back there for me, so I wanted to skip that hassle and just make the squares a lot bigger on the bottom. You can kind of see it in this frame here, so yeah, it definitely worked. I basically only did 4.5 rows in the back, but as you see here, here's an example of me doing the rubber band method, and you really don't have to worry about your hair coming out or, you know, it pulling too much, because you are going to make sure you put that Shine and Jam in the parts and on the braid or on the hair itself, so that, you know, it'll just go on really easily and it doesn't slip off at all. It stays pretty intact. I think you guys get the gist of it though, so I'm going to let this roll until we get to the front. I really do love how the back came out. It came out nice and neat, probably more than I expected, but as it should, since it took about 10 or 11 hours. But now we are going to move on to the front, which will be a little easier, especially with parting, because I can see a little better, especially on my phone that I'm clearly using. I originally was going to do them straight back, but I decided I wanted to do some designs just to make it a little extra cute. I went on YouTube, of course, and found a reference for some designs that I really liked. So I decided to do like some zigzag, a couple of feed-in braids, and a crisscross braid in the middle. No need for rubber bands here. I just went ahead and cornrowed them in. This section really didn't take too long. I just wanted to make sure that things look nice and neat, or as neat as possible. But of course you will continue with the same method as far as adding just small pieces of hair in and braiding that all the way through into your desired thickness of however you want your braid to be. As for the zigzag braids, you want to make sure that you are parting a little wider or making a wider space, because you're also going to part about 2 to 3 subsections within that one section so that you can create the zigzag look. Sectioning it off makes it a little easier, and also make sure that it still remains neat and doesn't look super sloppy and all over the place. Okay, so now it's time to braid the last section, which will be the crisscross braids. Of course, you want to make sure those parts are nice and neat, but you also want to make sure that you part directly half, I would say, between the front part and the back part, and then you want to section that off. So basically you'll end up with 4 different parts so that you can cross from one side to the other. And all the braiding is done. Now, I am a little upset because I know y'all see it. I noticed that I accidentally fed in some hair into another braid that wasn't supposed to be there, but it still turned out really cute. And last but not least, I have to add in some of the curly pieces, which I was not really able to finish because I did have to go to work. I did most of it, but I ended up coming home and not finishing them. I did it actually a couple days later, but surprisingly for my first time, it actually went pretty smooth. And it was actually kind of relaxing to just sit there and do that for some reason. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed it. And I see myself probably doing more Bohemian hairstyles in the future for sure. So once you do pull the hair through, which can be a little challenging at first, but once you get it, it's pretty easy. But I've learned on YouTube, of course, to kind of wrap the hair around the braid a little bit and then try to like tie a knot. So that way you can make sure that your hair is secure. And you really don't have to do that because they don't really come out. But in the event you are doing some wild things, then it definitely helps. Okay, y'all, so this is basically the finished results. You'll see it without the flexi rods. If you stay tuned and subscribe to my channel, make sure you watch my travel vlogs so you can see the hair out. But it is done, okay? I'm gonna do my baby hairs, all that good stuff. And I added all the curly pieces, as you can see. But it's late and I gotta get up for these appointments and do that so I can head to the airport and get some rest. So if you wanna see them without the flexi rods, like I said, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for my travel vlogs. But in the meantime, hope you think this was cute and thank you guys for watching. See you on the next vlog.